Hello, everybody. Welcome back
Hey,
to
hey,
Delusional
hey.
Confidence. I'm
Yeah.
happy to be back. We're here at Delusional Confidence on Instagram and YouTube, and you can find more information about Ida and I there. I think that
Yeah.
would be nice to just do a really easy intro today. And
That's
Ida and I are both kind of in the self-development industry and exploring that, talking about it, talking about our journey to success, basically. This applies to anyone in or out of the self-development industry. And anything you want to add, Ide?
no, I think it's good so far.
Okay.
Right. I was gonna say that when you started, I was like, wow, she's a pro podcaster now. You sound like the podcasters, like the
Really?
professional radio people when I'm listening to them. They're like, hi. That you said that.
That's so funny. I guess, yeah, you do anything, humans, we do anything enough times and it becomes like the back of our hand. Even the scariest things, if we
Yeah.
do it enough, it's like
It
nothing.
Yep, you become a pro.
Thanks, Ide.
Yeah, there's well, I guess before we jumped on here, we were talking about um I guess some health challenges that, well, I'm navigating, and I guess you are too at the moment. And I was like, no, okay, this is something that I kind of want to talk about because one, okay, well, I guess if I come from this perspective, then it's relevant to delusional confidence and I guess our journey in general. Because it's like, imagine being at a place where you're like, okay, you know what, I've decided I'm going to go all out. This is, this is what I want to do full time and this is it, blah, blah, blah. And then you get hit with like these health, challenges and you're kind of like, oh man, but I would say that I think I was a bit delusional about health challenges in that sometimes you hear that, oh, X is going through this, Y is going through that, and you hope for the best for them, and you're like, oh, that's unfortunate, but you never kind of expect it to happen to you. It's almost like you don't, and so when it happens to you, or when you hear something like that about you from your doctor, or you start experiencing something like that, you're like, I think for me, there was a bit of a disconnect because I was about like, why am I experiencing like, why, and the concept of, but I'm too young, but I'm this, but I'm that. But I think, okay, one thing that I kind of wanted to even throw out there was something that the doctor I last saw said. She's like, a lot of females experience what you're experiencing. At least 50%. They just don't talk about it. And I was like, wow. Because I don't walk around thinking, 1 in 2 women are experiencing what I'm experiencing. So it seems so abnormal, but they are, and they just don't talk about it. They just get on with it, so to speak, or just manage it, And so I think there's a part of me that's like, wow, like life is fragile, but also our bodies do go through so much, because sometimes it's not even about how healthy, like you could be eating so healthy and whatnot, but if your body is going to experience a health challenge, it is going to experience a health challenge. And funnily enough, they're like, yeah, you need to cut back on caffeine, you need to cut back on this. And I love tea so much. Like in Australia, I'll have like 5 cups a day. When I came to Ghana, I'll do at least once a day. And then I cut it out for like 4 months. And I was just there last week and I'm like, why should I cut out tea? I love tea. What am I saying? I guess what I'm saying is that a lot of humans are going through things that, we don't see and they don't share, 1. And 2, our bodies, like I think after 30, I'm kind of like, wow, our bodies are actually so fragile. Yes, obviously it's great that we give it all these nutrition and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, we are growing older, and the body can no longer do the things that it used to do. So that's kind of like a realization where I'm like, oh, okay. But I've also seen people kind of power through that and do wonders by like, continuing to keep their bodies healthy and, come what may. And I've also seen, there's this woman here in Ghana, she's like almost 60, but her body, she's rock solid.
Wow.
Rock solid. And, I watch her all the time and I'm like, wow, like you're so blessed and stuff like that. And to hear her story, like she had breast cancer, she's battled breast cancer. So I think I'm kind of like, wow, like, I don't know what I'm actually getting at, but I think some kind of realization is setting in that, life is really all about like getting through these things, but it doesn't mean like we still get to live, even though we're like navigating a lot of stuff. Because if you walk outside, you're going to see at least, 5,000 people if you go out into the city. And majority of them are going through stuff that you would just never know. And they're just navigating it and going about their lives like everything is 100%. I don't know what I'm getting at, Em, but I think it's just like a realization that like life, yeah, I don't really have a purpose for sharing that, but I think I just wanted to bring that up because I'm like, wow, like it's not just navigating the mindset stuff. There's a lot of different aspects of one's life that needs navigating. It's health, it's, your mindset, it's, at the end of the day, it's like, for me, I think what I'm realizing is like the journey is the journey. Yes, there's an entrepreneurial aspect, but there's also a living aspect of life and the things that we need to navigate as people. But I guess what's coming to me right now is the fact that I think as human beings, we're so resilient. Because what the heck? Like we're dealing with some like interesting things,
Yeah.
I mean, like right now, I'm even thinking, I look at my grandfather is 91, and his whole life, he's never been sick. He'll get headaches here and there, cold here and there. And at 90, that's when he had the amputee, like he's now an amputee, like they had to amputate, his what do we call it? His, not his full leg, but the toes. At 90. So it's like, yeah. I still don't know why I'm saying it.
I think it's cool to look at life like this, It just feels like a really general, it sounds like you're in a very general perspective right now about life, like reflecting about life in general, not something so specific, even though, yeah, it's health, but like, I think it's cool to talk about this stuff once in a while because usually we have a specific goal or like a specific thesis point, but I think it's cool to think about life like this. Like, is life fragile or isn't it? Like, or are we like super strong? Because it depends on how you look at it. Depending on what you've experienced in your life, it's like life could seem so fragile, or life could feel so resilient and like surprisingly strong and not fragile at all,
Yeah.
Wild. It's funny. Yeah, it's funny. It amazes me how much our paths, literally Ida and my paths, have kind of gone hand in hand, but in two different ways, like two very different lives.
Yeah.
But for some reason, similar topics come up for us. Like we're experiencing different things, but if you zoom out enough, in a way, we're experiencing like very close to the same things.
The
It's
same
so
but
weird.
different. Yeah.
Same but different. And like, so I've been reflecting a lot about health these days because I've been doing this primal diet and now my career is more centering in towards that right now. And I just am hearing these stories about people because, you know, every time you go into a new diet, you hear about the people that do the best on the diet, you know, who have had these great transformations. And I do believe someone on my podcast said there's stories like this within every diet. And I agree. I'm sure there are. So now I'm hearing about things, great improvements that people have experienced on this diet and similar diets, I guess. And, you know, it's amazing what's possible in this life. You know, it's amazing the level of health that people are capable of. So right now I'm in a place where like, I just feel like the longer I live, the better health I'm getting because that has been the trajectory of my life. I did see, and it depends again, right? Because like if I had a childhood where I remember being super healthy and then something happened and then now I don't feel healthy, it'd be the opposite, right? But like I don't ever remember feeling like mental health, especially. I don't remember feeling like awesomely healthy. And I'm sure I took a lot of the health I had for granted, right? Because I was just like a normal kid. I was like a normal American kid. There wasn't necessarily anything wrong with me. But I didn't feel like this great resounding level of health. And then, you know, over time, my health got worse. But ever since I got into the self-development industry, my health has gotten better. So, like, because I'm conscious, more conscious now, spiritually and otherwise, and because I wasn't aware of like what good health even meant when I was a child, I feel like I'm in the best health of my life and it's just getting better. And it's been so apparent to me how much mental and physical health for me personally are intertwined. Like I couldn't believe the clarity that I felt when I started getting focused. And sad, like for me, it was like zero alcohol, zero caffeine. You know, I could do herbal tea, which is awesome. We like that. But like that part of my process was like, okay, Emily, you decide that you don't feel good when you have these things. And so like I kind of want to get into this avenue now of like giving up things because you feel so good when you do that. And we're looping back to sacrificing as we always do. Sorry. I just think it's funny how we always get there, you know. But anyway, to kind of to keep myself on track with this present topic that we're having, I'm literally feeling the opposite these days. I'm literally feeling like the more I age, the more information I'm going to gather and the better I'm going to feel because that's the only evidence I've seen in my life. But Gay Hendricks, I always have quotes by him. He says, him and his group, it's called the Conscious Leadership Group. They're on Instagram as well. They say that aging is inevitable. Aging is inevitable. So like there's that aspect too. Like I don't think I've reached a time yet where I'm like, fuck, I'm aging, you know? Because, you know, I used to do drugs and alcohol. My memory is better than ever. Like my moods are better than ever. I'm less physical, but I don't really want to be that physical. So I just feel like I haven't seen evidence at this point that like, oh my God, aging is real, you know, because I just feel like it's not even applicable. But it is real. And I guess I'm still figuring out how much control we have over what comes with aging. Like aging is going to be there no matter what, because at least in the society, in our regular society mindset, it's like days pass, years pass. Technically, I've been on this earth for a longer period of time. So technically, aging is inevitable. But how much say do I have about what comes along with aging, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And I think for me, it boils down to the relationship that I do have with aging, you know, because you could age thinking, oh my God, I'm a victim and this is happening to me. And I think generally that's something that I'm, you know, looking to catch myself and improving, not playing a victim in all of my, you know, health issues. Because one can be like, oh my God, since August, it hasn't been okay. I'm experiencing something great. It's gone. It's like that. Just when I feel like this one's going, that one's coming. However, I think right now I'm just kind of like, okay, well, it is what it is. Thankfully, whatever that's happened, I'm healing, and I'm gonna allow myself the time, the effort, make sure that the things I'm putting into my body is conducive to, you know, a healthy environment for my body to heal in peace, and also believing that I do heal. Like I think I expressed before we even started this, like what I'm hoping for. Because I think sometimes if you're not careful, it can become your identity, where it's like, oh, you know, yeah, I'm not okay. Like I need to catch myself, because when people are like, oh, hey, how are you? I could be tempted to kind of be like, oh, you know, like life, blah, blah, blah. But just be mindful of, yeah, regardless of what I'm going through, I'm good. I'm actually good, you know? Yes, I think for me, it's really important for me to not allow myself to play a victim through it, and to recognize that this is happening for me. Yes, I don't see the bigger picture, but that it's happening for me, and that it actually happens more than I think and more than I knew, you know. But then again, it's kind of like, you know, you buy a white car and then all of a sudden you see a white car everywhere, right? Until you bought the white car, you didn't even know white cars existed. I know I'm being silly, because obviously you know it exists, but it's like all of a sudden your, you know, subconscious mind is focusing more on that now. So it's kind of like, now that I'm experiencing, you know, my health challenges, I'm now realizing that shit, like a lot of people are going through health challenges, Ida. Like it doesn't trivialize what I'm experiencing, but it happens. It's part of life. It happens, and we navigate it. You know? So yes, I think for me right now, it's a matter of like still staying powerful through it, you know, and not allowing it to overcome me in a way that I'm just like, oh, poor me, like, oh, you know? Yeah. But it's interesting.
Yeah, it takes a lot of strength to do that, because to be like, this is all so uncomfortable and hard, but I know that it's happening for me. Because how many times now we have this documented, how many times, I know for me, I showed up here plenty of times, horrible, like some of the worst moments of my life, you know, in a way. And to try to get myself in that mindset of like, it's all adding up. It's all something positive is gonna come out of this. It was so hard. You know, we had oh wow, there's a turkey over there.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a wild turkey out the window. That's amazing. So just being in those moments, and we've had the conversation, Ida was a good enough friend to have the conversation with me about like, hey, check yourself on if you're having a victim mindset, or just like be aware of that. And I knew that there was a portion of that really felt true to me, and it was hard to deal with that, you know? So I know that it takes a lot of strength. And as you say before, you have a lot of stability in your life at this point. And this, in moments like these, that gets demonstrated. And I think it's exemplary for people. What's that?
No, I was like, exactly, it's like, this is where you're like, are you really emotionally stable? But that's something that I'm very grateful for, because I'd be torn apart. I'd be ripped into pieces, And so now I do kind of understand. And the whole idea of, I said yes to coming on earth, and unconsciously I was aware that I was going to be going through all of this, and I said yes to it. And so that's something that I keep telling myself. I'm like, okay, Ida, but think about it. If you chose this, if your soul chose this, why? And just lean into that and trust that, your soul chose this path for a reason, I guess the Christians would say God is taking you through this path for a reason, and I do believe that. Doesn't mean when you're walking the path it's easy, because you wish it was happening elsewhere, not here.
Exactly.
So that it's easier to be like, oh geez, I'm so sorry, I'm praying for you, and that's why sometimes it's easy for us to be like, oh wow, I'm praying for you. But it's like when you're going through it, it's like, yeah, but it's interesting.
I know. And like, I didn't address this topic. Hey, psst, knock it out. I didn't address this topic that you brought up about how many people go through shit, but we don't see it. And I think we do a really good job of reminding everyone, our listeners, of that here. But it's so true, especially in the health realm, because it is something that's so personal and does not go with everybody's brand. Not everyone is gonna reveal those details, which makes sense. And it's just nice to know that people go through it. Every single person I know, of course, there are people that just like their path in life doesn't really have to do with health, and they just like have pretty good health throughout their whole life. I have a couple of friends like that, and I'm like, how? They're just like, yeah, it's fine, everything's good, whatever. They don't have to go on crazy diets. They just standard American diet. Exactly. They have some drinks. They're generally okay. It's like you said, it's clearly like not as much in their life path that they have to like figure out how to beat health. It's just there are other things in their life that is in their life path that they have to handle. But as someone who has also gone through years of like, whoa, when is this hell shit gonna end? And I'm not done with that. Everyone I know who has experienced like super health has had some sort of a health rock bottom. Everyone I talk to that has exemplary health, and I'm like, what's your past? Why, like, how did you get here? They had some crazy shit happen to them, and they were forced to figure out a way of living that felt more sustainable to them, or whatever the lesson is in their life journey. And that was me. I was able to figure out, oh my God, I don't need to be trapped in by this like partying lifestyle. Like, I don't need alcohol. I think I need alcohol to have fun and to be cool and to be likable. And actually I don't. I would have never figured that out if I didn't like rock bottom with all this stuff. And I would have never known that like all these things that I've experienced, like poor mental health and like digestion and painful periods, all this shit, I would have never figured it out that you can cure this stuff without looking into the health realm. And I never would have looked into the health realm if I didn't have health issues. Yeah. So it's just like, it fucking sucks in these moments that we don't know how to get out. Or I was telling my therapist this yesterday, in the moments that I haven't experienced before, that are new to me, I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst. How could God possibly have cursed me with this? And then you get through to the other side and it's like, oh, that's why. And then if it happens again down the line, you're like, okay, well, I'm not freaking out anymore because, like I was telling Ida, I'm feeling like I'm going through like kind of a detox thing. My body's getting rid of toxins. And because of that, I'm feeling more tired. I'm not like, oh my God, why am I tired? What's wrong with me? I'm like, I've been through this before. It's not like I know everything, but you know what I mean? When shit comes up and we learn how to handle it and then it comes up again, it's not as crazy and we can see the bigger picture,
Exactly. Exactly that. But yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Life. Yeah, no, life is just magical and interesting. Did you say you don't take caffeine at all?
Yeah, I don't anymore.
Wow. Wow. For how long?
Well, so when I was going through all this shit, initially I gave it up for like maybe 2 years or a year and a half, which was a long time for me because I've been like a lifelong caffeine addict, like since I was a child. My parents would let me have coffee at Starbucks here. So like ever since I was like 9 years old, I loved caffeine and I would have it all the time. So anyway, that was big for me to give it up for like a year and a half. And then after I stopped farming this past summer, I was like, I want coffee again. So I just like explored, had fun with coffee, and now I just know that I feel better without it. I feel like my hormones get fucked up with it. So, and periods, breast pain, I get breast pain around my period when I have caffeine. That goes away when I stop. There's just like things. But it's funny because I was talking about it with like I was asking ladies in my audience like, how did you achieve a painless period? How did you achieve a painless period? And everyone has different answers. Some girls, they gave up caffeine, painless period, perfect. That's all they had to do. Some people had to go on a really restrictive diet. Like that's kind of what I'm doing to achieve that. Some people just had to give up potatoes, but they can still drink caffeine. You know what I mean?
So interesting.
Yeah.
Everyone's body demands different things. And I think deep down we kind of know. One thing I know I desperately need right now is like a more green environment. So what I'm talking about is like one thing I've noticed here in Ghana is like there aren't many parks. Like in Australia, I could just go and sit in a park. It's very green, like remove myself or go sit by the water somewhere. Like I'm talking about like a river or a lake. It gives you a different feeling to an ocean. And I realized that those stuff are not, well, they are available, but I kind of have to travel a bit out to experience that. But I feel like I'm really craving those, moments by the water, that, serenity, that, peace, that and a bath. Like having a bath. I just know that's something my body has been craving for so long. In fact, almost 2 years, the whole time I've been in Ghana. And I can just sense my body's like, I need a bath. And I keep saying, I'm like, yeah, I need a bath. Like something to just allow me to like have a deep sigh, like, and baths, when I jump in a bath, I just have like this deep sigh that's just like so incredible. And so for me, I kind of feel like that's something that I need, as well as like nutrition. Obviously, I'm making sure that I'm putting in a balanced diet into my body. There was a point I was like, oh, maybe just do only fruits, maybe just do only veg. I've done like a vegan diet. My body couldn't cope. Like it's not for me. And so in Australia, my diet is like pescatarian. So all veggies, but then I'll add, one type of like, either a salmon or barramundi. Barramundi is like my favorite fish.
Yum.
So that's kind of like, have you had barramundi before?
Yeah.
It's very yummy, isn't it? I love it.
It is.
And so obviously the diet here in Ghana is very different. It's heavy on carbs, but obviously because here we sweat a lot, like it's quite humid, tropical weather. So you sweat a lot. So it makes sense to use the carbs. But then also I'm like, so I'm kind of like navigating, because obviously my diet has changed drastically here, because here I don't have access to barramundi. I don't have access to the salmon, the pink salmon. that I have. Yes, there are other fishes that I can have. I could still have like a fish and veggie diet here, but for some reason I haven't, because the foods here I love, and they all happen to be, big on carbs. So yeah, it's interesting. It's quite interesting, but I feel like we always know what our body needs, and right now I know that, like, just a bath, like, and Em is probably like, I could literally just go have a bath right now.
Yo, I've been craving it too, and it's a big part of this diet. People they call them hot baths, and you put like milk in the water and like Epsom salts. Some people use like Epsom salts in the baths, and vinegar. You put that together, and it like clarifies the water and makes it really supportive. And I did it the other day, because we have a tub here, but then the jets were like spewing out this nasty stuff, and I was like, oh my God. So I had to drain the tub and
don't ruin my
vibe. Exactly. We still like achieved the bath, but it's this thing where I kind of have to wait for it too, because now I have to wait for more milk because I ran out. So I'm in your boat in a fraction of a sense, in the sense that I'm like, I want a bath, but I have to wait for the milk because I don't want just the regular water. But yeah, Ida was telling me about that. You were telling me about that, I think, last week, but can you tell everyone about it who don't know?
What is it?
Like, in Ghana, you just don't have like the structure in the home.
Oh, yeah, no. So it's not, so I've even told you I want to have a bath. Yeah, so no, in Ghana, they're not building to give you a bath. That's a luxury here. So obviously you have like your normal shower, your normal, toilet, bedrooms, and like you don't get a bath put in. If you want a bath put in, you want to be living in the city, baby. Not all the city homes have it. It has to be luxury homes for the diaspora, So obviously those cost dollars, like US dollars, to live in a house with a bath. So it's kind of like luxury. The ordinary Ghanaian couldn't care less about it, but they'll be like, what? Oh, please. What It's just so interesting. But it's funny because sometimes when I'm talking to my mom's like, yeah, but you're so westernized. And I'm like, I don't think it's a matter of being westernized. It's just what my soul likes, because there are some Ghanaians who live in Australia who don't like baths, but I just happen to just love, to have my bath, with Palo Santo there, and like, candle, just setting the vibe, good music, like just,
you're selling it so much right now.
Seriously.
It sounds awesome.
That's the vibe I want to go for. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, a lot of things for the locals here don't make sense. Like, you would never buy a flower for like majority of, I can't speak for all the women because I kind of feel like some are shifting, but I can boldly say 80% of Ghanaian women will feel so disrespected if you bought them flowers. They'll be like, what?
Really?
What for? Why? Like, we've got trees outside, and sometimes I want to just go and cuddle one, but they'll be like, look at this weirdo. She's cutting the tree.
Wow. So what's a customary gift instead of flowers?
Money is the best thing people would take. Like, instead of buying the flowers, just give them the money.
So
I was gonna say, or a gift from the West. For them, they kind of feel like, things from the West are better. And I'm like, guys, you have no clue. Things from here are more natural. They're taken from here to go be processed and sent back to you. But, I feel like over time things are shifting. But in terms of gift and the things women value here, and even men, it's not like, let's just put it this way. It's not sentimental. Because I was telling my mom the other day, I'm like, Mom, for my birthday, you don't have to do anything special. Like, just write me a card and I'd love it. Like, I'd tattoo some of the words on my body in your handwriting. Oh. And my mom's like, oh, really? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting. You're so westernized. Like, you'd prefer me to write. And I'm like, I don't even care if you take a piece of paper and you write something on it for me. A poem, I don't know, something. I'd appreciate that so much more. I don't know if I ever mentioned, but I lost my younger brother. He was 17. This was like 2007, I think.
Wow.
Oh, no, not 2007. Wow, it hasn't been that long. I think 2012. 2012. I think it's, yeah, 2012. Yeah. And so the whole time I've been back, I'm like, oh, what, like, where are his stuff? Like, wasn't there anything, like nothing, And my cousins were like, because he was living with my grandma. My cousins are like, he's got notebooks here, but we don't know. And I'm like, yes, it's got his handwriting. Yes, give it. Like, so every time I go to my grandparents' house, I get to like look at his notebook. And my mom's like, if you found the notebook, just bring it home, because for them it's not of that, but like they don't see. Because for me, I'm like, he's never gonna be here, but this is this is his handwriting.
Yeah.
These are his notes from school. There will be nothing ever closer than this. But for them, they don't mind throwing it away because it doesn't hold that sentimental, but like they don't have that. So I think that's something that I've realized. It's not like, hey, it's like, just give me what I need right now. Don't give me something to put on my wall. I don't care about it.
Wow. Why do you think that is? The sentimental relationship is different.
You know what? It's the first time I've been asked, so I'm probably going to process it here. I kind of feel like the things that are held, sentimental here are like community and support. So I think like, okay, so for my mom, if my mom and grandparents, if they had their way, I'll be visiting them every day. Like I'll be sitting with them all day, talking all day, if they had their way. But for me, I'm like, no, I feel like seeing you once a week is special. But for my mom, she's like, no, like just come sit next to me, let's chat. So I think that like having that community, like be around me, so my mom gets upset if she just budges in, like in the morning when she's going for a walk, I'll hear her yell out my name. Sometimes it's like 6 a.m. And I'm like, Mom, or like she'll call me, she's like, hey, I want to say hi. And I'm like, Mom, I'm still sleeping.
Yeah. You
can't just call me at 6 a.m. Or like if she calls and my phone is on do not disturb, she doesn't get it. She's like, but why? Why? Like, why? I'm not disturbing you. I just want to see you. So that's what they hold value to. Whereas I'm like, no, I'm sleeping. So she gets so upset, if that happens. And I'm kind of like, let me know that you're coming. Don't just rock up because maybe I don't want to see you. Or sometimes she'll be like, okay, can you come? And I'm like, Mom, I kind of don't want to see anyone today. She's like, what is this? Like, what kind of life is this? I kind of feel like they value that a bit more. So like, for instance, if someone lost someone dear to them, they'd prefer that you come and sit with them all night than to send them a card and flowers.
Right.
Like that would be the biggest insult, to just go with a card and flowers and say, oh, I wish you so well, spend 30 minutes and leave. No, they'd rather you come sit with them, chat with them, just sit. Well, it's called waykeeping. Do you guys do that? Waykeeping. So if someone passes away, the whole neighborhood, if they knew the person, they'll just come and sit with you all night. We'll just be chatting all night.
Yeah. We call it a wake here, but it's like rare for people to do now.
Yeah. And it doesn't end just that night. Like people do like run shifts on who will be sleeping because they don't want to leave you alone. Like, okay, I'm going to come and stay with you this week. When I'm done, so and so will come and continue. Like they'll never leave you alone up until the funeral. And sometimes the funeral is like in 6 months. There are funerals that are like in a year and over. Yeah. So Ghana, it's so the earliest burial is probably 3 months. So when I went to Australia and people are getting buried like in a week, I'm like, oh wow, this is interesting. Sometimes even in a matter of days,
Wow.
But yeah, it's just so interesting in terms of like cultures and how they operate.
Totally. And I mean, to me, that sounds a lot more like truth, I guess, like actual community, actually spending quality time. Because cards, I think it's so awesome. Some of my friends are big gift givers and they love it. And it's like a big part of their lives. And that's awesome because getting stuff is great. I enjoy getting stuff, and like they get me, like my dad randomly great at giving me gifts, little things I can use for my car that I actually use. It's awesome. But I'm not a gift giver, and I don't really like like I could take gifts or leave it. Like I don't know what I'm missing if I don't receive the gift. I'm just like, whatever. I don't expect it. And I don't really give, I'm not a big gift giver either. What would make sense to me is like the actual purpose of of how to support someone when someone leaves is to like spend time with them. It just makes a lot more sense to me. But what do you think about that, Ida, experiencing both cultures firsthand?
I think there okay, so one thing, well, an ex-friend of mine, his brother passed away in Australia. And one thing it actually annoyed me, because we were in a house full of people, like I'm talking hundreds of people were in the house to come and support. And she felt like wailing. And they're like, no, you can't. You can't wait. They kept stopping her. And I was like, no, you have to stop. Because she wanted to like kind of drop her body and like just express. They're like, no, you can't. You're not supposed to. And I was like, no, you have to. Like you need, I don't care what you do, but you need to. So it got to a point where she's like, no, I need to wail. I need to weep. Like I can't. So there are certain things like that because they will tell you don't cry. When they come, the support they're coming to give you is don't cry. And it's like, that will annoy me. Don't come and sit here and tell me not to cry. If you're coming to cry with me, fine. But don't come here and tell me. And plus, I feel like I would need, as much as I'd appreciate the comfort and the support, I would also need privacy to grieve.
Yeah.
To grieve in my own quiet, peaceful time. I don't want people here 24/7. I don't. But that's what will happen. When someone leaves, it's like people basically move into your home. I don't want that.
Yeah.
But then my mom has a hypothesis. My mom's hypothesis is like, if I hadn't moved away, maybe like she kind of feels like I'm changed. I've been influenced. I feel like yes and no, because in Australia, we have a Ghanaian community that practices the same thing, but it never felt good to me. Like whenever I'm home and I remember my stepmom would be like, oh, we have these family coming to visit us. I'll get so annoyed. I'm like, why? Why are you coming to visit? Like, please don't come. Since I was a teenager, I don't want them there.
Yeah.
Don't come. And I don't want to come to yours either.
Right.
Just don't stay in your home.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a Western influence. I think it's just me. I really love my space, and I really don't want random showing up.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing I'm so sure. For instance, if I'm sitting with my mom, or like if my mom is coming to visit me and some random is following her, I get annoyed. Like why? Because I didn't create space for this random person.
Yeah.
Why are they here?
Right.
You need to have told me first. But yeah,
right.
It's interesting.
I love that. I've always been the same with my family, and my dad is kind of the same too. It's weird, like, because even here, some people are super close with their family, and like, it's like the top thing to do is like go spend time with your family. And I'm talking about like kids and their parents, aunts, uncles, cousins. Sometimes people are just close to their parents, and sometimes they're close to their bigger family. But for some people, it's like the best thing. For me, it was always like, oh, I have to go do this. Yeah, and now, luckily, what's interesting is it's changing with me and my parents. Like now I kind of want to spend time around my parents, and it feels like family quality time. But for the longest time, it was like anyone in my family, up until very recently, anyone in my family, I was just like, I just don't vibe with you. I don't really resonate. We're so different. you don't really understand what I'm doing. So why would I want to hang out with you? Like, it's not, and it's not, it wasn't even a matter. I mean, sometimes it would be a matter of like, morally, I'm on a different page as someone in my family. So I'm just like, I don't want to spend time with that person. But sometimes it's not that I think they're a bad person. It's just, we're different and we can't really find a lot of common ground, and it's just awkward.
Yeah, for me too. I don't think that they're bad people and I don't want them around me. It's just that I like to prepare my space and my energy. So for instance, if I know my mom and her friend are coming, then I'll prepare for that. Because if someone just randomly walks into my space, I don't know what to do with that. Because maybe I plan to lay in bed all day. Now that you're here, I can't do that. I need to sit with you and talk to you.
Yeah.
Because I can't just ignore you. And I don't really want to talk right now.
Yeah.
Not because I don't want to talk to you, but just in this moment right now, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's just so interesting.
It really is. I think it's a good point. It's like, community is great, but up until a certain extent, it can get like way too much, and it can get enabling. Like, obviously there's like negatives to the community thing, or like codependent, and we could use a bunch of terms that some people think is good and we need it, some people think is not healthy, right? So it like depends on who you are. And then with the independence thing that we have in the West, it's like, obviously that's doing a lot of people harm for their mental health as well. And but it's also helped people to like develop themselves, find like stability. So to me, it's one of those things that it's like, I think as we continue to like reproduce on Earth and like go through the generations, we're learning like how we can refine this stuff, because obviously, like, I don't know, I'm in a world right now online with like this primal diet thing. It's called the primal diet for a reason, right? So like, it's very ancestral. So people also like to adopt traditional ideas, and a lot of that I really like, but I'm not sure if you know everyone who likes this primal diet was transported back into ancestral times. I'm not sure if they would like it. It's hard to say, right? I think the really extreme people would love it, but like, it's not like, I guess I don't know the answer to this yet, but I'm starting to think like, was it really better back then? Like, sometimes I feel like if you go back far enough, everything was natural. There was no industry. People had really awesome spiritual practices. And they were just like way more connected to the earth. So and they were eating clean, obviously, because no chemicals. So like, life sounds like it would be by default way better, but I'm not sure if that's true. Like, if we were to go back at that time, it would be like, wow, life is so hard. We're like literally fighting to keep our lives every day, like to get enough food, to run from animals that could kill us. And now it's like, if we want to hang out all day, a lot of us can. A lot of us can't, but a lot of us can for like a day or on our day off or whatever. We can just like hang out, get groceries delivered, or like hang out, have a nice meal, go to our family's house, hang out, eat their food, chill, sleep. It's like, I don't know if the traditional way is always better, but I really value it too. And I feel like we're starting to, even though in the West, yoga is becoming a thing, community again is becoming a thing, spirituality again is becoming a thing. We're starting to realize how we can like merge all of the good stuff together.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's not about community or individuality. For me, it's about interdependence. That's what I want, where I know that my family is there for me. If I needed them, I can just call and be like, hey, and go. Vice versa. If they needed me, they know I'm here. But we're not like in each other's, like, we're not like, it's like, I do me, you do you, but we're here if we need each other. I kind of feel like that's what I kind of want, because then it's like I still have my my individuality. Like I know who I am without them, but I also know who I am with them, you know? So I can't, like right now I'm here for and they know, I wish my grandparents would just call. Like if they had their way, I'll see them every day. But if I had my way, I do my thing, they do their thing. But whenever they called me, I'll be there. And I hope they know that if they call, they're like, hey, we really, need XYZ, or we would really love to spend time with you today. I'll be there. Yeah. Right. But I don't need to do it every single day for you to know that. Like, it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah.
But for them, they see it like that, because sometimes I hear them make comments like, so my mom traveled to go and, because my sister had a baby. And so my mom went to the UK to support my sister. And then my grandparents, well, specifically my grandma's like, no, you can't leave me. You're my child. You can't leave me to go. Who's going to look after me? But do you get what I mean? And so now she keeps calling my mom, no, you have to come. You can't leave me for this long. You've been there for so long. And my mom's like, but what do you mean? That's my daughter. My daughter needs my help too. But see what I mean? Because she's like, well, I need you to come here so you can buy. My mom's like, why? Why do you need me so much? So you can buy tomatoes for me. My mom's like, tomatoes? But you see what I mean? Like it becomes codependent, because for my grandma, my mom shouldn't be able to do anything. My mom should be her like if they call my mom, they want my mom to leave everything and come now because you're my child and you have to, and there's this saying that they keep saying, you have to honor your mother and your father so your days will be long on earth, that stuff. Or like one of my cousins lives with them. And they're like, no, you can't work. Why are you working? You should be staying home looking after us. And it's like, well, she's not a kid. She's like 26. She needs to, start her own life. She can't keep being here to look after you. So that's where the challenge kind of lies, where it's like, it's expected that it's almost like it's compulsory that you become a good community member and you play your part. Anything aside of that, you're not playing your part, which I don't want that.
That makes a lot of sense. I wonder how does income come in if like the people younger are always taking care of the older people?
That's how it happens here in Ghana. So the children will have to look after them, mainly the men in the family. So in Ghana, we have like this thing where it's like, so the men in the family will have to be looking after their parents. And also there's this weird thing that really annoys me, but it's called wafase, where it's like the uncles will need to look after the nieces and nephews, pay their fees. It's like this responsibility that automatically falls on you and you need to fulfill it. Yes, I'm sure there's a certain blessing that comes with it. If you are well off, like for instance, if you have like the wealth and you can do that, why? It shouldn't even be a question, right? But sometimes, they've got their own family to look after, but they've got responsibility to, their nieces and nephews too. But then their parents don't have to do anything. They just
need to. That's so interesting.
Seriously, that's where I'm like, sorry, I don't want any part in that, and I think that's where community tips over to the other side, where I kind of feel like there's no independence, because independence is seen as disrespect and disregard for the culture. But yeah, it's interesting. Who knew this is what we'll be talking about?
I know. I love it though. It's interesting. It's cool to see how topics come up because they are so random, but at the same time, I've been thinking about gender roles and family stuff so much lately. So I think a lot of these topics, these like random topics that come up, they just kind of subconsciously maybe,
yeah.
It just like we start to ask the right questions, so they will kind of come up. So the men are expected to both work full time, enough to pay for the whole family and take care of the elders.
Yep.
How does that even happen?
It's expected. So you have to be looking after your parents. So your parents, you know, they demand that you look after them. It will get to a point where they're like, you know, they demand that so much so that there are some times where it's like when the child starts their first job, it's somehow expected that their first salary kind of goes to them. There's this weird stuff because to them, they're like, well, I sacrificed to look after you. Now it's your turn.
Yeah.
To sacrifice to look after me till I die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whereas in the West, it's so different in that, you know, as a parent, it's your responsibility to look after the child, make sure that the child is well situated. You know, some parents even go as far as, you know, buying them one property so at least they're sorted, or like giving them some kind of fund or some kind of support there. But, you know, I can't speak for all of the Ghanaian community, but 80%, majority, this is how they, you know, this is what they expect. They expect that you look after them. Whether, and the funny thing is, whether they looked after you when you were a kid or not.
Oh, that's tough.
Which is very tough.
Yeah.
Whether they contributed anything to your upbringing, they still demand that you look after them. In fact, it's not even a demand, it's expected.
Wow.
So it's like, just do your thing. This is your responsibility. You know? So
yeah.
Sometimes uncles, I really feel for them. I'm like, damn.
I know. Damn. Taking care of your nieces and nephews too. Like what?
They don't even complain.
Wow. So maybe they like it. I don't know. That guy.
I don't think it's a matter of you like it or not. That's what it is. So it's like, it is what it is. If you don't do it, then how will my grandparents live? Because they never prepare for the future.
Right.
Because it's expected that they'll be looked after automatically.
Right.
So if you decide not to do it, who will look after them? Do you get what I mean? Like there's no one to do it. So you have to do it.
Yeah.
You got to do it. And there's no such thing as nursing homes and stuff. You got to look after them.
Right.
Literally, you got to be there.
Right. Right. And this is something that people are starting to speak really highly about, because in the States, obviously the pendulum swings so far in the other direction. And there's a lot of like nursing home neglect. Like there's a lot of just like, forcing people to go into a nursing home and then just like taking off. And I think that's like human torture. That's so fucked up. Scary. Like leave me to die. I would rather die than live in a nursing. I mean, there are some really, like my grandparents moved to one by choice and it's really nice. They enjoy it. I think I used to give my family so much shit, but I feel like they do have a really good happy medium kind of with how they do things. Like my grandparents moved to this place by choice, and it's like it's a community where there's a big house where it's like basically like a nursing home in the house, but then there are small condos around the property where if the people are able, they can live like my grandparents live in like a little house on that same property so they can get help if they need it, and they love it, and it's a very nice community. But obviously it takes money to get in communities like that, and not everyone has. So maybe they need a nursing home because they need help, and their kids aren't willing to do it, so they have to be in this place where they get abused, and it's just I don't like the feeling of that either.
I've seen it firsthand. Like I've witnessed, you know, elderlies, because I used to there were times where I used to work, you know, just to be there to support, like I'll take them out and stuff like that. That's something that I used to do for work. Wow. And it's just so sad when I go in and I just see the food they're eating. Some have even forgotten where they are, and they're just not treated. They're just sitting down. Mm-hmm. No family, no nothing. Obviously, that's not what I want for my grandparents. So for me, I'm calling for interdependence. It's like, I'll be there for you. as and when, because it's a right thing to do, but it's not demanded of me. Like, I'm as independent as I'd like to look after you. I don't even know if that made sense, but
Yeah,
like,
it does.
no one is expecting anything, but we know that we will be there for each other anyway, so it's not even expected, because it's a given, you know? But not in a way that's like by force, where my mom can't travel to see her daughter. What
Right.
is that?
Yeah.
You know? But I can't really question it, because to my grandma, it wouldn't make sense. If I ever question it, she'd be like, but what do you mean? That's my child. That's my daughter. I remember there was a time I had this misunderstanding with my mom, and my mom was crying and I was crying. And my my grandpa's like, you made my daughter cry. And I'm like, but I'm your granddaughter. What about me? I'm crying too. What about me? You know?
Yeah.
It's just so interesting.
Totally. Totally. Oh man. Yeah, and I nowadays, like, I don't know, I don't really think much about the future because I think anything could happen and I just need to like be prepared for whatever is going to happen and just handle it. But I used to be so freaked out because I know my dad doesn't want to go into a nursing home, and he's like in his mid 70s now. So like he's doing great. He looks like he's in his late 50s and he moves around like he's 40, you know. Thank God. But like I used to be like, oh, we don't get along. So if he needs help and he has to move into my house, it's going to be like hell. And now I'm like, my dad, you know, after this year, my dad's helped me so much. Like he's made my life so much easier. And I just feel like I can see that now. And I feel like so like super lucky, just super lucky. My dad started saving for my sister and I 20 years before he even had us into this world, you know?
Wow.
And he stayed at the same job for like 50, you know, for like 40 years. Yeah, for like 40 years, literally, because he would get such a good retirement plan, and he has, and now he still helps me. And he gives me a place to live now. And I'm just like, I want to help him because he fucking like showed up for me times 1,000, you know? So like
It's so
now I'm
much
like,
easier. Yeah, it's so much easier if you have to kind of return that. It's not even a favor. It's like it doesn't even take anything away from you, because this person gave so much, whether you saw it or not.
yeah,
You know. But here you are in Ghana. Some parents don't even look after. For them, they believe, hey, my job is I'm married, I had a kid. That alone is a blessing. And then that child will just struggle. They'll make it, and it's expected that they look after, you know. But
yeah,
anyway, things are shifting. I've noticed that things are shifting here in Ghana. Some, you know, the younger parents are learning that, you know what, we got to leave investments for our children. We're living for our children. We need to make sure that they don't struggle so much in future, because especially right now, to even buy a house in Australia, it starts from 1 million. So it's like, if you don't start off for your child, how do you expect your child, by the time your child gets to buying a house, it'll be like 2 million. But if you start saving for them now, by the time they get to 18, they could have that money.
yeah.
You know? But yeah, geez, who knew I was so passionate about this? But yeah.
It's so interesting. It's so cool though to see like how things are developing, what we're figuring out works and what we're figuring out doesn't work very well as a society.
I feel like the West and the developing countries, if we could come together and share our knowledge and wisdom, we could go much further, because there
Exactly.
are great things from the developing countries and great things from the West. How can we blend the two so that as a human race we progress, instead of thinking one is better than the other, or one trying to force the other on the other? It's just, you know, but yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just reminds me that like I just realized how much this is applied to everything. Like one extreme usually isn't sustainable. the other side of the coin, the other side of the extreme is also not sustainable usually. And usually the answer lies in the middle. Like there are some aspects of this one extreme that works. There are some aspects of this other extreme that works. Usually the answer is in the middle. I feel like that puts me at so much peace in my mind now that I know that. When I'm like, what's better? Which is the way? I'm like, oh, why can't I just create this other option for myself that's kind of custom made?
It's in the middle.
Yeah.
In the middle somewhere, whatever works for you. So it's like, don't stop what's working for you to go and do something else that's working for someone else. If it's not broken for you, what's being fixed?
Yeah.
You know, it's always in the middle. But yeah. Oh well. I think the ghost go take out my hair.
Ooh.
And so I'm gonna hit the lady up to see if she can do it for me.
Cool. What are you gonna do with it?
I'll
Just keep
leave
it natural? Nice.
I
I'm
miss my
excited.
I did this 1st of December.
Wow.
So it's been a while, yeah. It's been a while.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it too, because I'm like, I'm tired.
All right, girl. What an episode, man. And hey, I think this is really a sign of how much we've grown over this period of time since the fall or the winter when we started this podcast. It's like we're not fucking obsessed with business and sales. There's more to life, you know? It's pretty cool.
There is so much more to life.
Yeah.
So much more.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us. It's amazing that you do that.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. And like this on YouTube if you're watching, subscribe to us on YouTube at Delusional Confidence. We'll have we post these episodes a little bit with a delay, but they're posted to podcast platforms as well, like Spotify, so you can check us out and subscribe there and follow us on Instagram.